The energy healing came in on the side. That's kind of a side thing that I do. But basically, it's a spiritual awakening mentoring that rocketed off through the use of the channeling, which for whatever reason, and I haven't channeled anything for this, are super important years. And I have a massive chills too. But we have set the stage right now and I speak mostly to light workers, but even though it does affect everyone else. But that said, those who are going through awakening and ascension, if you listen to one of the last ones, they showed us walking forward in these beautiful cloaks of light and walking kind of very reverently toward the future, toward the new year, but it's actually walking through the next 3 months. And so we're gaining in our frequency and our light. We see this journey so much individually because it really kind of feels like that lots of times, right? Like you're all alone doing your thing and going through your suffering and the joys, of course, too. Clash of the Titans, they're showing us, and this is interesting. They just said the words dark force. It's a little bit like Star Wars kind of idea. They're showing a dark force. Now remember, as you of course know, the dark and the light need each other. But that said, we're meeting as a collective. I have a lot of chills. I don't know if you're getting anything too, but feel free to chime in.
I can see, Carolyn, like a wall, like a brick wall, like the Great Wall of China, and the dark forces are behind, and they've been there sneakily, doing their business, controlling. And we're like because we're integrating this energy, we're able to be like little ants and crawl over the wall, but also the galactic energy is like smashing the wall down slowly and breaking away for us to move through and infiltrate.
Oh my gosh, you had me bring through information for next year. That's wild. That is wild.
So today on Elevated Conversations, we have one of our dear friends. She has been there right from the beginning when we didn't know what a light worker was. We weren't sure whether we even had a soul and it was in us living down here on this planet. It was like we were starting to wake up. And my dear brother told us that perhaps we should get a reading from this lovely lady, and the lovely lady is Carolyn Zaiser. She's on the call today. Welcome to Elevated Conversations.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you guys again.
What I love about this conversation today, Carolyn, is that not only do, let's say, we know one another working in this genre, this field, and have the same sort of purpose behind what we do, but we've become friends along the way as well.
I know.
And before hitting record, the catch up, so much fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking, wasn't it 2019?
Yes.
We started Roxy, you and I? Yeah.
Yeah. So Carolyn, guys, is an intuitive channel and focuses in past lifetimes. And when we had our awakening, we were scrambling to figure out who we were, what our soul was. We felt that inner calling of, man, we must be so much bigger than just this body. Mm-hmm. And we got led to you, Carolyn, and you helped us so much at the beginning to make it all feel grounded. And it was such a pleasure to have you as a guardian angel at the beginning of our journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was so much fun working with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So with your work, Carolyn, you've had an amazing awakening story into the work that you're doing now. Let's hear a little bit about that, how you got to where you are now and have this beautiful connection to your guides and to your soul.
Yeah. Thank you. Started back in 2016 with and there's a lot of intricacies to this, but in general, it was a lightning bolt awakening from the passing of a loved one, which is a whole story in itself. But needless to say, from that literal moment that he passed away, I mean, it was like a lightning bolt that hit, and I just started my journey. And there's, like I said, a lot of intricacy as everybody's journey is, in the nuances. But that said, I had a blank slate at the time. Had quit my job during that time frame, which was improbable for me to ever do. Because of course I support myself, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to quit my job. And then all this happened, and suddenly he was here all the time in my house after he passed. And that's how it started, because I kept hearing him and we were talking, we'd be communicating. So he was my first connection to anyone who had either passed on or spirit or the angelic realm. I kind of consider everybody all kind of one in essence in how you connect. But needless to say, he assisted me in starting the whole channeling and understanding that we can do that. I knew nothing beforehand. Okay, so the funny part is I have a specialty in past lives now. Up until 2017, when this all happened, or 2016, I thought we just had one life. I mean, I didn't really think much about it. I grew up in a traditional, religious Protestant family, pretty liberal, but didn't really think about it, but just figured we had one life. And now I do past lives, right? But that's how this journey works. These things unfold that we can't even imagine would ever unfold. But that said, I started channeling. Then the light keepers, which showed up in a magical way. I mean, all the stories are fun and magical, but I know we don't have time for all that. But the point is they showed up, which they're a group of angelic beings that said they wanted to channel through me. This was in Sedona, which is obviously a magical place, highly energetic. And they said, we're going to channel through you for those who are awakening and going through ascension. And so we did. For a year, I collected poetry. And then I finally became public with it on Facebook and some groups I was with. And then I don't even remember. Yeah, it started with my YouTube channel. I started using some of their work. And then I just kind of metamorphosized into being able to just channel as I'm like sitting here with someone, right? Versus the having to write everything down. So it was a process. But within that came the specialty of past lives. And that happened back in roughly 2017 when I had a friend that I was working with and she was doing the same work, actually had her own business. And I did a session for her. And all of a sudden, I started seeing, so that, how this process works, it just slowly unfolds. And I was getting the world and I was getting zoomed in like Google Earth. I always say it's I'm like Google Earth. I kind of got zoomed in on a certain area. I was in Mongolia and I was seeing it from afar like I was a satellite looking down. And then they zoomed me in on the circumstances. And I figured out who she was and what her circumstances were and why she was going through what she went through in her current lifetime and connected the dots. And now she understood why she had the physical issues, which the whole thing is a really, again, these are all incredible stories, but connected the dots from that life to her really tremendous physical issues. And so, anyway, needless to say, that's kind of how I journeyed into starting with the past lives, and then the channeling just exploded. And, it's just one day after another, everything starts to grow from there and expand. And then, the energy healing came in on the side. That's kind of a side thing that I do. But basically, it's a spiritual awakening mentoring that rocketed off through the use of the channeling. And that's my main reason for existing, essentially, as a business. And then the past lives are like part of that, like a specialty of mine. And it's fascinating to help people with their soul journey and to help them understand components of themselves that they would never have known otherwise and why things are going on in their current lifetime the way they are and how those are actually connected to our past lives. Now, of course, it's a much bigger story, but those past lives help, add those layers that are really kind of complex and when we try to understand our current incarnation and why things are happening and sometimes why physical things are happening. So
I couldn't have.
that's in a nutshell a little bit about how I ended up where I am today.
It's so cool. I love it because as you know, we slipped and awoken from the word light worker when Dan Pete's brother said it to us, and it instantly activated our souls.
Oh,
and then
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, that's how it all began. He rang us from the tugboat in the mines and said, "Hey guys," and he was really nervous on the phone. He's like, "I think I'm a light worker." And it was so beautiful because he was so nervous even to say that word. And then I went, "What's that?" And then all of a sudden we were on getting readings from and but it's so special because we were 3D business as well in the Matrix, very much like you. And it's like we've gone from that to that, and it's so different, the realms. And it's just so fascinating with the past life work that you do, joining the dots, because it does have a very big, significant part of our ascension journey. And for me, it was very significant in learning about some of my past lifetimes. I had to integrate a probably major about 5, whereas Pete, and everyone's different, and you would agree with this, Carolyn, that Pete probably hasn't really had that many to integrate, whereas I've been slogging it out, seeing peg leg ladies in the shops over and over, like.
You're going to have to explain that if you start calling that out.
I believe that you helped me see a past life where you started to activate it, and then I discovered it. And it's basically, I had a past life where I was a lady and I had an accident. I lost my leg, right? So I had a peg leg and I drank myself to death.
Did we talk about that? Was that us? Yes. I vaguely remember that. Yes.
And then Pete and I go to the shopping center here in Australia, and I kid you not, I see like 5 women in wheelchairs with peg legs. Can you believe it?
That's how it happens. But that's that synchronicity to help you understand what's real and true.
Yes.
This is what happens with my clients. I'm not kidding you. I did not know that part. That's fascinating. That's classic, though. That is what happens. Yes.
And it's so funny.
Solidify that.
I was at lunch at Noosa the other day with a girlfriend, and there was a lady in front of me with a peg leg. She got up, I didn't realize, but she had it all pink and beautiful. She was dressed up amazing. She was embodying this peg leg. And I went, wow, that's a reflection for me that I know that this past life is fully integrated, because I can look at her and smile and say, yeah, you go, girl. You've got the sparkles on the leg, it's just crazy. So, like, guys, this past life integration is very important and very symbolic in the journey. So, yeah, what but
and it's
the lesson runs deep, Carolyn. The lesson runs deep because if Roxy would have too many drinks, right, and the next day was talking about it, it would really affect her at a level that I mean, obviously sometimes you feel a bit hungover or etc. Right? We're at the beginning of our awakening journey and we're learning these things. We're reflecting, and she would particularly
get upset
and go to a low place. And we could never really work. I mean, no one really likes feeling hungover, but this was beyond that, right? And the realization of joining the feeling of drinking herself to death, which was unfinished business from a past life, with that feeling coming up in this life, and then seeing what it was, accepting it and releasing that trapped energy. It's like now that whole energy flow is completely gone. And
oh my gosh,
on the same line.
I'm so glad you shared this, because I didn't know the culmination of identifying that. And I'm going to tell you, that is exactly the classic response of identifying past lives. And then those that need to be worked through, typically what happens is I bring through past lives that are important for people to know in this incarnation. And lots of times they're not lives that are joyful and wonderful and happy. They're the stuff we're working to heal. And so then they do come through, like you said, in that way of pattern, synchronicity. All of a sudden you're seeing these things. I mean, I have a gazillion different examples, and I just want to make a point. What you said, Roxy, that is exactly true. Some people, they're working more, maybe their stuff in this lifetime, and the past lives aren't that big a deal, or vice versa. Like me, I'm all like a past life thing. I have 5 past lives that were just knocking me over the head. And I had to process them all in like 4 months, and it was connected to a current relationship. And so stuff was going on in my current life, right? Where and these past lives are showing up, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it helped me heal like codependent parts of me that were still there that I thought were gone, or attachment, it was more, not so much codependent, it was more anxious attachment. I cleared all of that. I worked all of that. I thought that was all done. No, it wasn't. So it's like the dust in the corners. The past lives can help you really get to the nits and grits of things that you haven't cleaned out, right?
Absolutely. And thank you for doing all that work, because you're letting go. When we're all doing this past life work and ascension work, it's making it easier for the planet and cleaning up. It's like cleaning up the attic, like you use that analogy. We're dusting off and we're cleaning out to create more space for light frequency to come to the planet. And I love your updates. You do a monthly update, energy update. And
Yeah.
I feel like there is going to be a significant end to the year. What can you share with us from your guides around any significant changes that are coming for us?
Okay, so I just got chills when you said that. So when you were talking about the end of the year, oh, I just got chills again. So that's like an exclamation mark behind the sentence when they give me chills. Anyway, so they've taken me kind of through, well, overarchingly through the end of the year in the sense that they've talked about these last 3 months like really being an important time to be able to well, this is what they've said is we're kind of marching forward as a larger collective of light workers. Like we've reached this kind of culmination point. This is hard to explain, where we're taking that into 2025 and 2026, which for whatever reason, and I haven't channeled anything for this, are super important years. And I have a massive chills too. Really big times in the collective. Now, who knows what that's going to look like, right? Because everything I see is energy and then it forms up into words and phrases and visuals and all of that. But energetically speaking, we are headed into a time where we have set the stage right now and I speak mostly to light workers, but even though it does affect everyone else. But that said, those who are going through awakening and ascension, so many of us have gotten to this, they call it a maturation point, which was so cool when they brought that through. I'm like, what? Really? And so a maturation point where if you listen to one of the last ones, they showed us walking forward in these beautiful cloaks of light and walking kind of very reverently toward the future, toward the new year, but it's actually walking through the next 3 months. And so we're gaining in our frequency and our light and they keep talking about it as a collective. We see this journey so much individually because it really kind of feels like that lots of times, right? Like you're all alone doing your thing and going through your suffering and and the joys, of course, too. But they very much show how we're now going to be more effective, I'll just say, collectively, and moving into the end of the year and then getting prepared for 2025 and 2026. So I'll just give you, I'm getting ready to do my November update, but what they're showing me now is, okay, I'm just gonna go. Do you want me to go give you a little
Yes,
info?
absolutely. If it's coming
I
through,
didn't,
it's coming
I didn't
through.
expect this, but okay. So this is interesting. Oh, they just said, so they use metaphor. They just used Clash of the Titans. Oh God, I just got huge chills. Clash of the Titans. But what they're showing, and we'll try to understand what that means. Clash of the Titans, man, I have chills. But they're showing light workers. Remember, this is the energy we present out. This isn't us going out and, necessarily like protesting. That's not, this is what we're presenting out as energy in our field.
Mhm.
Clash of the Titans, they're showing us showing up, and this is interesting. They just said the words dark force. It's a little bit like Star Wars kind of idea. And I got to tell you, I only have seen the first Star Wars. I never saw any of the others, but they're showing a dark force. Now, remember, as you of course know, the dark and the light need each other. But that said, we're meeting we're meeting as a collective. I have a lot of chills. I don't know if you're getting anything too, but feel free to chime in.
I can see it all as you're saying it. It's very clear.
Okay.
When you're
Okay.
saying
Yeah.
it, I'm seeing it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is, like I said, I haven't even looked into the new year other than 2025, 2026 beers because we're preparing. We're preparing now is what we're doing. And by preparing, it's not like we have to go out physically 3D, go do something and sign up for something. I mean, you can if you want, but this is about the continued work we're doing internally, continuing to create our foundation of our spiritual journey, continuing to do the healing work, all the things, right? Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. So they're showing they're collected, they're large energetic forces, but guess what? This is so cool. They're showing with these two groups, okay, the light workers and then our darker energy, and it's not individual, it's just a wall of darkness. Whereas with the light workers, you're seeing individual light bodies with the cloaks, and they're showing the sun. This is why we're having the solar maximum and all the things happening. Okay, whew, I just got chills. They're showing the sun coming down the middle of this, coming down in between the two. And they just said, okay, it's like a force. I don't know how this is going to play out. I never know how this can play out like materially in the 3D world. And sometimes it's delayed too because energy shows up first. And then to materialize, it can take time. But they're showing the solar flares. I keep getting that that's going to increase. That's going to increase. And it's like a boom, boom, boom. And then it's a little bit like, again, metaphor, like a nuclear bomb kind of idea, but this is wild. It's adding to the light workers because many of us, we just talked about this before the session, how we're starting to be able to accommodate those energies much more easily. Those big energies coming in from alignments because we're elevating too, and we're being able to meet that energy versus it slamming us down, right? So it's still tough, but what's happening is we're accommodating the light collective is accommodating, but the force of the cosmic events is actually, how do I want to say this? It's more like a force toward, like a force that the dark can't accommodate, or the lower energies can't accommodate. And so it's like it's a blowback. What's that called? Is that called a blowback? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When
I can see, Carolyn, like a wall, like a brick wall, like the Great Wall of China, and the dark
yeah,
forces are behind, and they've been there sneakily, doing their business, controlling. And we're like because we're integrating this energy, we're able to be like little ants and crawl over the wall, but also the
yes,
galactic energy is like smashing the wall down slowly and breaking away for us to move through and infiltrate.
yes. Oh my gosh, you had me bring through information for next year. That's wild. That is wild. So yes, so that's a little tidbit of what is to come. Now, what I always tell everyone this is I give you everything that I get and take what resonates, toss the rest aside. This is part of what I tell people is, you're looking for puzzle pieces of the puzzle of your journey to try to explain things. So when you go other places, you hear other people talk, things are going to start to resonate. You're going to be able to say, okay, that's my truth. I'm taking that with me. Does that make sense? So this is just another part of this to be able to go, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or like you're seeing that too, right? So that makes sense to you. So
Mm.
yeah, we're in some big, big times though. A massive shift and change in 2025, 2026 to take us into what they've always said 2020, well, not always, lately they've been saying 2027, because
Wow.
then there's a new, okay, hold on a second. Oh, they just said we'll cross the threshold. Now, I don't always know what they mean when they say that, but we're crossing a threshold after these next couple of years. And we're going to be able to see that. I think you probably tell me if you understand this, if this is how it plays out for you guys. But what they've always said to me is those of us who are doing this light work and really advancing in how we're accommodating the energies and our vibration is higher and all that, the dimensional shift that we're doing 5 to 3 or 3 to 5 and moving in and out of that. But this idea of being able to take that energy, I don't want to, I'm not going to be able to explain this. I'm not going to be able to explain this. Okay, so anyway, I kind of had a little glitch. I should have told you this in the beginning. Sometimes what'll happen is I'll get channeling so fast that all of a sudden it's like somebody just shuts the computer off. I know that sounds crazy, but I kind of lost what they were going to tell me.
Is it something
What
to
was
do
I
with
talking
the
about?
2028? There's always been predictions
Yeah.
about 2028, and that's when massive change comes. Way more
Oh, okay.
drastic,
Okay.
and we're kind of tipping over into the threshold, like you suggested, of love
Yes.
consciousness in the age of love. And it's like some of us light workers that have been doing all the inner work, we're going to be tapping into that
Mhm.
500 frequency of the heart, right?
That's the threshold then. That's the
Yes.
threshold. I'll bet you that's the threshold because we're seeing the same time frame,
Yes. Yeah.
27, 2028. And the thing is what they're talking about now with these next 3 months, it's not like this, it's very different. It's not like, oh, I got to go get everything done now and get everything accomplished, and I haven't done anything, and what am I even supposed to do? It's just continuing to follow your heart, your intuition, your processes. The foundation is super important. I'll never forget when I first started channeling on my YouTube channel and they wanted to talk about self-care. And they're like, no, we need to talk about self-care. I'm like, that's boring. Nobody wants to hear about self-care. But they're like, no, we're going to talk about self-care. They talk about it all the time, but they are talking about from the perspective of building that foundation that takes us to the places that we're meant to go, right? But we can't do it without focusing on our energy body, our physical body, our mental, emotional body, and doing the work.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. As you know, we always travel and come back to our battery charging land here in Australia,
Yes.
and we need that time to rejuvenate. Like it's important to be grounded. We do a lot of a galactic work, as you know, and it's important to embody the human experience. So
Oh, completely.
with your work, and you're working in higher consciousnesses all day doing readings and channelings, what are you doing to ground yourself? I just heard that you're moving back into coaching tennis and teaching tennis. Do you feel
Yeah.
like the embodiment of you coming out of the closet, so to speak, in this new version and embodying the spiritual energies?
Yeah, a couple things about that. So for a couple of years, I have felt, like I've said to you earlier, I'm in my house working with people online. It's just me. And I used to work with hundreds of people for dozens of years. And I went from feast to famine. And so now I was like, the last 2 years, okay, I need to do something. And I was kind of ready to lose my mind, like get out there. But it's all about just putting that out there and letting things gel because where could I have found anything better, which gelled in August after me putting it out to the universe and also doing crazy things like going out and Indeed looking for part-time jobs, going, what am I doing? Because I knew better, but at the same time, you're human, so you think you have to do the thing, right? I knew I was meant to get back out, and I do see people, but I don't see groups of people. But I knew I was meant to get out and share our field. And like you said, in the human world, we're meant to participate. We're not meant to go be monks, most of us in this lifetime. That's not this lifetime. We are to be present out there, which is why so many people are waking up. They're kind of just average folk. It's all coming from the groundswell. It's coming from common people. Anyway, with the tennis, yeah, it magically happened to the point where I couldn't have put together a better scenario for myself. I don't have to dress up, thank God. I get to wear what I want to wear. I get to do something with people I know and love, and the sport that I'm addicted to, and I know what I'm doing. And it's kind of like I just walk in, and it's like not having a new job. But the point is, it's not about me teaching tennis. It's about me sharing the light that we have and that exudes from us as we get around other people. And we know that because we've seen it. But as far as the practices that you mentioned, I have had, and this is a whole other conversation, nothing, no experience is ever easily explained, right? But I've had 2 years of a lot of difficulty, lot of energetic difficulty, to the point where another thing that I do, we all have little specialties we do that are aside from our work that we're doing out in 3D. But that said, I clear for the collective, and I have had a very arduous journey of clearing for the land, of clearing for the collective, or learning to clear for the collective and clear for individuals, but protect myself. So I had gone through a point where I was kind of not doing a whole lot. Like I was doing my meditations and my energy healings were kind of all over the place, but I was, still doing my day-to-day work. Well, I got smacked down big time on that. And I have now, like, I do things regularly. It's kind of, how it is when it's like the cobbler's children have no shoes idea. Like, I'm preaching this to people, but is Carolyn doing it all herself regularly? No, I wasn't. I mean, I tried, but it didn't always work. So I had to. And I now have a major meditation practice in the evening. And it's a 40-minute meditation that helps me anchor in my light body. And I am a different person, I'm telling you. That said, it also clears your chakras and it builds out your field. And literally, since this summer, everything has changed for me. And it is a full guided meditation that I offer. That I don't do meditations, but I did record this one. But and then the other part for me is this was a biggie for me. About a year ago, the drinking just fell off. Like I've always been a Friday, Saturday night, let's go have a old fashioned or a wine or whatever. Never thinking of it, right? Cause not, maybe 3 drinks when I'm out. All of a sudden I don't want it anymore because it also was activating, a lot of energetic issues for me at night. But the point is it just dropped off. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to go quit drinking, but I'm going to tell you, you do. I think we're going to find this, and it's also in the collective right now. We're seeing, we got mocktails. Whoever, we didn't have those before. I mean, this is a gradual thing. So we're starting to see an exchange, right? People are just, this is very, one simple example of vibrational shift.
Mm,
And that vibrational shift for me was massive when I quit drinking. And it just happened. I just don't want it anymore.
mm,
And so that's one thing. My eating habits, and exercise is huge for me. It's kind of the basic stuff. Outdoors, nature, walking and hiking, gardening. It's the basic things that we're taught, a lot of the common sense stuff, but the energy body part is the part that I say we've never been taught, which is critical.
mm.
Getting energy healings regularly, I believe is super important for people. I mean, I do them every 2 weeks with a practitioner that I use as one of my specialists too, for people when they need a real specialty energy healing. Additionally, like I said, I meditate, I get outdoors, but energy healing is critically important, I believe, honestly, for everyone. I
Mm.
really do. I really do.
Let's go.
So, those are just some of the things that I do, but
I love that you bring up the alcohol shift because I think it was about 10 years ago I really noticed the whole healthy eating, conscious eating shift in vegan, I guess vegan people starting vegan diets and eating no gluten and dairy and, stop eating meat and stuff like
yeah.
that. And that's where I saw a bit of a shift in, consciousness. And before, it was definitely kind of before my time, but, with the drinking, when we see a shift, like when people go out and they'd rather take psilocybin to have a great time rather than, drink alcohol because they'd feel better the next day, that's when you're really starting to see the younger generation starting like this energy is working. And
Oh yeah.
I feel like the alcohol has held people in an unconscious state. Like when we're all shut down, it's really interesting that the bottle shops were still open. And so there is a method
Oh
to the
yeah.
madness. Like if we really have a look behind the veil at this, it seems like the dark forces were able to control people in an unconscious state. But now, like there's different alternative, like plant medicine, and you can still have a laugh and be social and but join the dots. Like these psilocybins are joining neural pathways
Yeah.
and neutralizing distortion in our neural mind, in our neural pathways in our mind and our gut health as well. So
Oh
this
yeah.
is, I feel like, really exciting for, the generation behind us. Like even the kids, they don't drink as much as maybe what we did when we were 18, 19, going out every weekend, going night clubbing and, I think we called it $2 chuck, where you get
Yeah.
one drink for $2
Yeah.
and you'd get there before 9 and get 6 on the table before the prices went up and whatnot. But I think
Yeah.
like it's really pleasant to see that this is shifting and it's evident, isn't it?
Well, and it's evident in so many places. And this is what they've always told me is this is a gradual shift and change coming from the grassroots. So if you can look big picture at things, which drinking is just one of them. We got elixirs out there now. We got these cool herbal elixirs that are big deals and are really good, give you a different feel. We have psilocybin, we have, all of that. And we have whoever would have thought that hemp in all its glory would finally be able to be utilized in many places, right? We still have our issues here in the States, obviously. But this gradual, you can see it. It's like it's coming, it's happening. Things like you never would have heard of, well, at least 20 years ago, hardly ever hear about being vegan, and now it's a thing, right? And not saying you have to go full bore, but the point is people are shifting, and it's a individual approach to it. But here's the thing that they've said to me is it's because this journey collectively, light workers are magnetic. So when we do that work, these first waves of us, we are magnetic. We also activate people into their journey, but they've always shown us we're pulling them along. We're like, come on, we're like, they always use a metaphor of like big hulking, galactic or, oh gosh, trying to think of the name. Anyway, pulling and pulling and pulling, and we're pulling along the rest of them because we're magnetic. And so what's happening is we're helping elevate the entirety of the collective. And so what you're going to start to see is these little shifts and changes, like changes in diet. Here's another one that I've noticed over the years. When I was growing up, nobody ran around with a water bottle or any kind of liquid. Like that wasn't anything. So now what do we have? Oh my heavens. And not to mention, you couldn't buy anything in the store other than maybe, 5 different kinds of pop or whatever, which was awful for you. And we didn't know that then. But now you have every kind of drink under the sun, but everybody's walking around with water, which, by the way, is critical to this awakening journey and the fluid. So and I could name 10,000 other examples of this gradual little shift that you're seeing. But when you look at it big picture, this is why. This is why this shift and change is happening naturally, and no one can stop it.
That's right. It's so exciting.
It really is. I mean, and that's all part of shifting our frequency and our vibration, which ultimately is the ascension journey, and then doing the healing work, and then people pop awake. And as we know, well, I do know you probably are aware of this too, that 2020 was like another wave of people that started in their awakening journey. And so many have woken up so quickly and are moving quickly through it as well. Now, I don't think you're ever done. You're continually growing and learning and accommodating the energies and doing your healing work. But yeah, it's a whole other group now too.
I feel like
So,
there's a whole nother group coming too,
oh
Carol.
yeah. Yeah, I
Like
think
a whole nother wave coming for us.
to your point and this just kind of popping in here, I think it's going to be like, well, we got a big old election here in November, but I think that just popped in, but they don't talk a lot about that at all, by the way. But I'm getting to your point about a new group, spring of next year, summer of next year, we're going to start seeing more activity is what I'm getting. I don't like next year is a big deal to get ready for what is that? That's 2025. To get ready for 26 and no, 25 and 26. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it's a magnification what's happening here on the planet of what's happening in the spiritual realms, because the illusion of separation from source, we come in as a soul and we fall under the rules of time, which, by the way, I've been getting coming up in sessions so much lately. Clocks everywhere. Oh, like, what's with all the clocks? And they're going, you're starting to play with time. Time's shrinking, time's expanding. You're like, pause and hold. I like getting all this stuff with clocks. And then they're talking about also this illusion of the separation, being separate from source. So this is like root chakra clearing for people, where they realize I'm not enough, I'm incomplete in some way. It's like they're getting help from the Galactica to go, you are enough. You actually, let's just start with, you've got a soul, your life's got a purpose, and people start to think, wow, maybe my life does actually mean something. And it doesn't mean we all have to run off and be massage therapists or live in a van and drive around like gypsies. We can be doing the tennis classes, or we can be the builder, or we can be the beautician, or we can be the whatever it is, work in fashion. But we're little lights where we're affecting our community. And that's, in a way, what I've been shown is the difference between the light worker and the light warrior. The light warrior takes the inspiration and turns it into action. Like when we're out in the world, this is the equivalent of our spiritual battleground, and it's the building site, right?
It is.
It's the mine site, or it's the fashion, industry place, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally. In fact, it's so interesting you say that, because I work individually with people on spiritual awakening mentoring, and the work that they do, it's like, I actually have somebody who has their own nail business, and they're starting to get all this intuitive information on their clients, and they're going through their awakening, right? To your point, they're out there with regular people, that's how this is being done. Like I said earlier, this is not time for us to go into the cave and be the monk,
Yep.
right? Most of us are designed, like I said, the common person, it's like we're undercover. You know what I mean? But honestly, yes, they're doing all different kinds of things. Like with the gal who has her own nail business, she's starting to get information on people, and so she's very likely going to turn part of her nail business into a service that she will assist people in receiving information. Why not, right? Might as well.
Mm.
Take a mainstream kind of industry and add a service if you want. But you're right, most people are out there just doing their thing as they're awakening in a regular kind of job, which is where a lot of power is.
I laugh too because it happens in the reverse. When Roxy goes to get her hair done, the ladies fight over who's going to get to wash Roxy's hair or do the
Yeah.
treat because she sits there and can't help but read their energy field and go, "So what's going on with you?" And there's a male in your life that's causing you some
Oh,
upset. And they go, "Oh, how did you know?" Blah 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 blah. So now they know, and they're like, "Oh no, I want to do Roxy. No, I'm doing
yeah.
Roxy, right?"
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like they know.
Exactly. Well, and you know what? You probably find too, I'm glad you brought that up because it's so interesting how you can't not talk about what you do. And then when you do, because I'm still kind of, I don't want to say I'm reticent. It's not like I just blurt it out, but it comes up. And then when you start talking about this, you find more people resonate
Hmm.
with it than not, which kind of blows me away, and is always surprising and exciting at the same time.
I
So,
think I think a lot of people like light workers, they're scared of that rejection because a lot of us have abandonment
yeah,
and rejection and
right,
thoughts about maybe we're not going to fit in. That's a common
right.
light worker, vibration to heal. And so when we come out of the closet and we start to speak our truth, it's not that far from what people are wanting to talk about anyway. We've just
No.
got to ground it in. We can't be talking about the ETs that we remote
Oh
viewed
my
to the
God, no.
last night with but we can talk
That's
about
not the way to start.
no, no, definitely not the way to start. However, in the future maybe, but now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, why is this playing out with my boyfriend? Why do I keep attracting this same person? Like law of attraction, simple terms like that, I think people can handle in the 3D.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Mm.
and you make a point, interestingly, and I'm going to bring up past lives again. Those of us that are, like I said, reticent to bring this up or even to move into our intuitive gifts, and a lot of people run into this. So, any viewers that are listening that are feeling like their gifts are coming or intuition is coming online, what can happen is past lives of, think about this. When, the pagan times when they were oppressed and that just got washed away, the witch hunts, that we've all lived those lives. Most of us who have had our frontliners in this, and using our intuitive gifts, we've had this happen. We've
Mm.
had this happen and been oppressed in the past. We've been put to death. We've been, think about the Inquisition. It just goes on and on, right? And so consequently, that shows up as a reverberation into this life and makes you go, and then, well, let's just add to the fact that in this incarnation, we've got what? The church, and we can just add all the things that, still is not approving of that. But point is it's a reverberation into this lifetime that makes you go, I can't, I don't think so. I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. This isn't that life. This isn't that. We're going to work on this. It's okay. So to be able to be seen, you're not going to be put to death again.
But also to add to that, like if you are resisting something, that's something for you to integrate and heal. Anything that
Totally.
you don't
Oh yeah.
like I never liked magic as a child. Never liked magic shows. I'm like, oh, I can't. I get frustrated because I want to know how they do it, right? The
Right,
tricksters.
right.
And then
Uh-huh.
now I love magic. I love the surprise. I love the spontaneous surprises. But it's like everything you don't like is going to be something big for you. It's an opposite
Yes.
game, right?
Yes. And that's, to your point, the important part about integrating or not integrating, identifying the past life. It's not we just identify it for fun and go, okay,
No.
that's great to know. No, what does it mean? How's it showing up? Because it came up for a reason. How's it showing up in your journey? And what can we do to integrate that fragment of you into the oneness of who you are? Because what I've been told is that that's exactly what we're doing is we're rolling up into the collective oneness, but we have to integrate with ourselves individually first.
Mm,
And that's past lives integrating into, like you just said, with the healing work, being able to overcome some of these things and, really become the wholeness and the totality of what we can become and
mm.
realize that it's just a reverberation and integrating with that. And, with past lives, one of the big things that I tell people, and this worked so well for me, is get yourself in an Epsom salt bath and have a conversation with that person that you were. After we identify and help understand the circumstances and kind of get a visual representation of that individual and talk to them, have that conversation. Let's discuss it. So that's one real healing way is to get to know that part of you because it's reverberating into, and we reverberate into them too. And then that gets into time and that there's
Mm.
no time kind of thing
I
all
have a
happening at
I
once.
have a question for you, Carolyn. We know that we've got these awful, well, beautiful but awful, hard lifetimes to integrate, the ones that we're learning from, and we're still sealing the deal. But there's also past lives that we've had grand journeys,
Oh
major
yeah.
activations, and gifts and abilities.
Oh yeah.
Are you seeing a shift in your work now with people integrating those major past lifetimes? The top end of the goodies, the rewards that we're due.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, I was focusing on kind of the healing ones. I do as much identifying of kind of magical lives, right? A lot of galactic lives that
Mm.
were important to establishing Earth and Earth civilization and humankind as we know it today, and then transferring from the galactic life into a human life to be able to bring it to Earth, essentially. So there's a lot of really amazing lives. And what that does is help people stand in their power and know, oh, I'm not just this little average person that I think of. I'm a powerful being. And look at the lives I had when I knew, that we had that kind of power. So there are a lot of people who have these interesting galactic lives that are coming in for purpose and helping them understand kind of the glory of what they participated in and helping create Earth. And then, yes, then there's the common well, like there's Atlantis lives that show up that have been pretty interesting for people. But then they're just the common human lives too. I do get connected to a lot of angelics and gods and goddesses and the fragments of or fractals of that people have in them and trying to help them understand what that means. So yeah, there's a lot of power out there. So yes, it's a combination of both.
And I would recommend anyone looking for those pieces to come and talk to you because it does give you confidence, like you said. It gave
Yeah.
me a lot of confidence to learn about some highlighted lifetimes of my own because I did have a low self esteem. And to work out that my soul was so much bigger than I thought it was helped me move
Yep.
into being in my power and my truth and my north, and following this path with
Right.
intention that yes, I am much bigger than I am, and so thank you so much for all of your work. We've enjoyed the chat
So welcome. And
today.
thank you. Thank you too. I just love the work you've been doing. So you deserve some applause as well.
Thank you so much. So
Thank you for
Carol,
having me.
everyone that wants to connect with beautiful Carolyn, where can they find you?
Well, my website is Purple Rain, as in Prince, purplerainhealing.com. And just go there and there's a form you can fill out. I do 15-minute complimentary consultations if you just want to talk to me and see if we're a fit for each other and the services are a fit, or you can just sign right up. And it's kind of starts the journey. And so then we can go from there as you want, or you can, just take a single session. But yeah, absolutely. Just purplerainhealing.com. That's the best place to reach me.
Yeah, beautiful. And for past life readings, you connect to their soul from a distance
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
quantum
Everything I do.
field, and
Yeah.
you
Everything
give
I
a
do is distance. Yep.
and they receive a voice recording from you.
Yes.
Yes, wonderful.
Yes. Exactly. And they participate in a way that's part of that journey is them being able to express out who they are. because basically what I do is I'm a facilitator of a conversation. So when they participate, you know, they can't tell me too much. You can tell me nothing, sure, but it's for you, it's an opportunity for you to bring forward kind of what you want to know and your, you know, a little bit about you. And then I just bring through the information. We have a conversation. So it's
Beautiful.
pretty cool.
Beautiful. Thank you for all your work and coming on Elevated Conversations today. Thank you.
You are so welcome.